That's right. Coming up tonight, right after Ask Dr. Dawn, which is happening at 6 right here on K-Squid Radio, community radio for the Monterey Bay Area. My name is Rachel Ann Goodman. I'm here every Thursday, and there's a big conference coming up, and I'm going to be talking about that in just a moment with my two guests. We are also expecting Stuart Rosenstein to join us by phone, so we have a wonderful show for you in the second half here of Talk of the Bay. Hi, and welcome to K-Squid. If you would introduce yourselves, that would be lovely.
Hi, my name is Andrea Damon. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Associate Director of Trans Families of Santa Cruz County, and I'm also one of the organizers of the Understanding Gender Conference, which is part of the Rainbow Conference coming up on this Saturday.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And hi, my name is Tyra Williams. I use she, her pronouns. I am a student at UC Santa Cruz, and I am the advisor for the Student Planning Committee for the summit that we will talk about.
That's awesome. And I know that school just started up there, so we're all kind of in our tizzy here. But, okay, got him there. Let's see if he's on the line. Hey, Stuart, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Isn't that magic? We love magic here.
Yeah.
We're just getting our headphones on, getting all excited about the magic of radio here at K-Squid. So, Stuart, tell me about the Rainbow Conference. What is the concept, and who is the audience for it?
Am I on the?
Yes.
Am I on the air?
Yes.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Could you hear my question?
Yes, I did.
Ah.
So the Queer Youth Task Force and the Safe Schools Project have been working for the last 9 years on bringing queer and trans youth together from 3 counties. And it then now includes a track for parents, guardians, educators, and adult allies called Understanding Gender. And then we added also an elementary track. So now we've named everything the Rainbow Conference, and there's 3 tracks. And the attendance audience is LGBT youth and their allies in middle schools and high schools for the teen track called the Queer and Trans Youth Summit of the Central Coast. And then there's a second track called Understanding Gender. And then the third track for elementary school kids and their families called Rainbow Glitter Kids.
That sounds great. Where is it taking place? And is it this coming weekend?
Yes, it's this coming weekend, and it's on Saturday, September 28th at Watsonville High School. And we're kind of taking over the campus. So there'll be the cafeteria, the library, and all different parts of the campus. And we picked Watsonville High School because of its central location to the 3 counties, Monterey County and San Benito County.
And Tyler, as someone, did I get your name right?
Tyra,
sorry. As someone that's part of the UCSC community, what role does UCSC have in getting this organized?
UCSC just basically offers a lot of students, such as myself, that get involved in this project as one of many projects that the Safe Schools Project works on.
And why the name Safe Schools, do you think? What does that imply to you?
It implies making a safe community for any student, queer or not, to feel like they belong.
How about you, Andrea? What does that Safe Schools title mean to you?
Well, I would just like to add on to what Tyra said, because one thing we've learned through research is that schools that are safe for LGBTQ kids are actually safer and healthier for all students. Schools with healthy GSAs have lower suicide rates amongst straight boys. Like a safe school for LGBTQ kids benefits the entire community.
That'd be interesting to track why that is. That's fascinating. There was just a big study out today. I just was listening to the news, and 60,000 people were surveyed. And it was stunning that they had tracked suicide rates before these laws were passed about bathroom use and other things. And the before and after was stunning. It was a 73% increase, and it took 2 or 3 years for those stats to show up, and they discounted all the other variables in getting this statistic, and I think it was 73% increase in the 3 years in just those 19 states. And that data is a little old because it didn't account for the new states beyond the 19 that have passed these laws. So safe means safe, and those schools seem to have become very unsafe in those communities, but not here.
Not here.
Not here.
That's
and
our
not
goal.
ever, hopefully. And it's in a way a celebration of that, right? That a reaffirmation that that isn't going to happen. But it's not like there aren't people who would like it to, who come to meetings and stuff. Is that correct?
It's true, but we are so lucky in Santa Cruz County to have so many committed, supportive allies from the highest levels of the Santa Cruz County Office of Education through the classrooms, the teachers, the parents. We have a lot of support and interest in supporting LGBTQ youth in this county, and at the same time, we do experience pushback, and we need to keep working to spread information, accurate information, and create more safety within our schools.
Stuart, I thought I saw a picture of our very own engineer, Sandy Stone, on your newsletter. Is she going to be there speaking?
Yes, she's our keynote. So the students, Tyra can speak more on that.
I can, yes.
But yeah, Tyra, why don't you share how they came up with Sandy Stone?
Yeah, I was very impressed that the students were so excited that they wanted to reach out to Sandy Stone as a keynote speaker. They admire her work as a trans icon, local in the Santa Cruz community. It's so impressive to me. The Student Planning Committee, they have done everything. I just want to say I'm very inspired by all their work. I just kind of sit around and let them do their thing.
I'm sure you do more than that because you're here talking to us.
But yes, they wanted Sandy Stone, and I am so excited that I am honored that she's going to be there as well.
I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but Sandy Stone built this station. She hand built this station. She wired
She's
both
an
these
engineer.
studios, yeah. And is going to be the star of a movie coming out called Girl Island that's all about her story.
Wow.
And so I'm sure when the premiere of that happens, it'll be a big deal, and hopefully it'll screen here in Santa Cruz. But she's been in New York a lot, filming, and that being finishing up. So I'm sure she'll talk more about that maybe in talk. I don't know, but I'd love to listen to her any day, any time, because she's a brilliant individual and has a great story to tell that's
And
inspiring, I think, for younger people.
I can't wait for hundreds of students to witness that.
Yeah. What's the capacity of the event? How many people can you accommodate?
Well, I'll say for the adult track, which we're calling Understanding Gender, we haven't gotten close to our capacity yet. I think we could accommodate over 100 people. We have about 70 people registered so far, which I'm really excited about because we have some wonderful speakers for our event as well.
That's wonderful. And so for parents, what would you like to communicate to them as an invitation to come to this event? What might they come away with?
Well, this event is a welcoming and safe place to either begin the exploration of what gender means. I think a lot of parents feel a little bit bewildered by the new conversations around gender that their children, whether they're young children, middle high school children, or even their young adult children, are sharing with them. And there's a pretty steep learning curve for a lot of us parents. So we've tried to create an approachable set of workshops where parents can feel safe to ask their questions and come away with a deeper understanding and hopefully some comfort with that understanding about what gender identity really is, and also how they as parents can support their children if their child has a diverse gender identity, and if they don't know that or their child doesn't, but still it's so important for all of us living in community together to work as best as we can to understand each other.
So there'll be some educating happening and some discussing happening, it sounds like.
Yeah, and
curious people.
In the adult track, we have some sessions that are really just talking directly about what is gender identity, how can we understand it better. We have a beginning track on that and then a more advanced track for people who already know the basics. We're also offering a session in Spanish for Spanish speakers. A professor from UCSC, Marcia Ochoa, is going to come and speak for our Spanish-speaking attendees, which I'm thrilled about. We'll have a session on the legal rights of trans and non-binary students, which has garnered a lot of interest from our people registering. We have a panel of local religious leaders who are going to talk about affirming people of diverse gender identities within religious communities and traditions. And then we'll also have a panel of young adults who are trans and non-binary who will be sharing more about their own gender journeys, which I think is it's a very good way for us to learn, to hear someone's personal story.
These are the adults listening to the young.
Adults listening to the
Adults.
young adults. Exactly.
Is it the younger the child is when they start exhibiting, questioning their gender identity, the more confusing it is probably for the parents, because they know that growing up is a trajectory, but it's not a straight line in any way. You can wobble all over the place, right? So there's no like fixed, oh, now you are this and now you are that. So how do you talk to parents who maybe their kid who's got appears to be a boy, loves to wear a dress all the time? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to decide right then and there that your 8-year-old is destined for life,
Oh, absolutely. And children do explore their gender at all different ages. I would say, as someone who works with parents very regularly who have trans, non-binary, or just gender non-conforming, gender diverse kids, whatever the age of their young person, when they first start exploring, the parents are confused. They're too young, they're too old. Parents just have a lot to learn, which is why we have this conference, to give parents a head start, give them maybe a booster of information. But there's no one age that's most typical for people to express a trans or non-binary gender identity. The U.S. Trans Survey, which was inaugurated in 2015, and they did one more recently in 2022, has surveyed trans adults, asked them, when did you first know? When did you first come out? And the range of ages when adults said they first know started from, 3 years old up until in their 20s. There doesn't seem to be any typical trajectory. And so just understanding that gender is very personal, and we each have a gender. I have a gender. It matches what was assigned to me at birth, but each of us has a gender, and it's very personal to each of us.
And yet we're all in this culture, right?
Yes.
In the 21st century, trying to figure it out together. Anything you'd like to add, Tyra?
I wish I could attend the Understanding Gender part of this Rainbow Conference now. But yeah.
How was it to talk to your parents? I mean, just in general, is it still an ongoing conversation that you're part of this group organizing this conference? Do you share that at home?
I would say it's never an easy conversation to have with your parents, even as someone who's pretty open with her parents.
Yeah.
It's
probably
always
no
awkward.
Conversation is not awkward when you're in your 20s talking to your parents, but particularly one about your personal life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's good that we have this resource for parents in the local communities.
Yeah. Stuart, you've been kind of quiet because you're there, but I'd love to include you in this conversation. You do a lot with youth. Tell me about some of the things you'll be facilitating at this conference this weekend on Saturday in Watsonville.
Yes, so we have all kinds of workshops that are being presented by both youth and adults that range all kinds of topics, and very exciting workshops. We're going to be announcing those tomorrow on our website. And but we have caucuses for youth to talk with similar-minded ideas. And then there's workshops where people will be, of course, learning new skills and ideas. And the idea is that the students at this conference will then take ideas back to their school and help make their school safer. And I really like what Andrea said. I'm an older gay man, and I was bullied every single day when I was in middle school and high school, but I had not yet figured out who I was. And so I didn't understand why they were bullying me. And I had really very little interest in doing well in school. I wanted to get out of there as soon as I could. Of course, that's not every LGBT's experience. Some people in the face of adversity rise to the occasion and in spite of all the bullying, excel. And so I was not one of those. And so I feel very blessed, as Andrea said, to be in a community. I mean, I don't know how far back it goes where Santa Cruz County became an LGBT-friendly community, but I've heard, it goes back many, many, many years, maybe 100 years. But, we have someone like John Laird, who was one of the first openly gay mayors elected in the United States back in the 80s. And so we have a situation now where all these decades later, as Andrea said, there are administrators who want to make their campuses safer. They want to make sure that every kid that's in school excels and does well. And so my personal goal is for students just to know about each other. When I was growing up, I knew no other LGBT people my age. And yes, there's social media now, and there's opportunities for students to know about so many things. Yet, I think real person connections, meeting people, and building community within the Tri-County area. So through the workshops and through the breakfast and through the lunch, it's a vehicle to bring people together. And who knows, maybe 30 years from now, we'll meet some students who said some friendships were born at this event and did great work together, making the community even stronger. And I have to admit, I'm a little ignorant and did not completely know about Sandy Stone. For example, that she literally built the studio that you're in now. And to me, I'll be learning from a young person, suggesting Sandy Stone. I'm always learning from Tyra and Andrea. And so that's what we're hoping by this event, is to bring people together to learn about each other and how, like, oh, you're doing that in Monterey. Maybe we can do that in Santa Cruz. Oh, you're doing that in Watsonville. Wow, let's do that in Carmel. And we have students coming from Carmel, from Salinas. And what's exciting that I really would like to say is that the parents that are supporting this event is so inspiring, and also the school districts providing transportation for young people to get to this conference otherwise wouldn't. I think it's a real beautiful gift it's a beautiful gift, and it's a testament to all the people who did so much work to make our community a better place. And I have to give a shout out to former Assembly Member Mark Stone, who did so much to inspire queer and trans youth leaders by sending them to conferences and inspiring me to do more to help support queer youth. You have people like Adam Spickler, who's a trustee at Cabrillo College, who's working to make their campus safer. And there's all the local superintendents here. It's really quite inspiring. And, of course, all the GSAs.
Yeah, I was going to ask about GSAs in the county because they play a really important role. Do you see other structures being created in addition to GSAs that might help kids maybe who are still closeted or scared to reach out to other people or still being isolated? What other things are being discussed as sort of ongoing structural things that can happen in these institutions that are schools so that they could be even more effective? Anybody want to take that one? Go ahead, Stuart.
I was just going to say that I'm very inspired by a lot of the GSAs, and they all have different names, and that's also so cool. Some are called Rainbow, some are called Pride Club, but I want to give a special shout out to Pacific Collegiate School, PCS. Last year, they have a club on campus called the Transgender and Non-Binary Student Union, and they worked for a year passing a resolution to support LGBT students on their campus. And so some of these student clubs are mainly around support, some are social, and some are, leadership involved. And so, they're working to make all their campus safer by passing resolutions to make sure that the board works to make their campus safer. But there's all kinds of things going on. There's Santa Cruz High School did a drag show, I think, last year to raise money for nonprofits, which I think is so beautiful. And there's more examples of that. But I want to give time for Andrea and Tyra to share if they have any stories.
I would like to add something more so, specific to the summit. We do have one workshop that's about having healthy relationships, about how to set boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that is crucial. That's something that's outside of, what a GSA can do. Having a workshop where students can learn how to make themselves safer is so important. And another one we have is how to have a successful and inclusive National Coming Out Day, right? A day that's not often celebrated at high schools, and even having something like that, right? A workshop where students learn, oh, I can take this back to my high school. We can put on a successful National Coming Out Day, right? Is amazing, right? An event that's not often celebrated and that's outside of GSAs. That's something that every high schooler at a high school could see and participate in and enjoy, Sorry, that's just
No,
one thing I wanted to
wanted
add.
to ask you, Tyra, if you could speak directly to someone who's listening now, and we never know who's listening, but let's say they're in high school or even middle school, of encouragement if they're feeling isolated and they don't know who to talk to. What would you say to someone who's still struggling with telling anybody at all what is going on inside them about their gender identity?
Oh, that is a hard question to answer, but it's so important to find yourself and to take care of yourself and to always put yourself first. So there's so many factors, and one thing about the summit's theme is all about resilience, right? Learning how to fight for yourself, learning who you are, and being proud of who you are is something I will always say. Please fight for yourself. Please, you are so important, and you matter so much. No matter who you are, how you identify, you are so important.
Thank you. I feel like we're talking an alternate universe, because then you turn on the TV or listen to the news and you inevitably, it's almost like if you have a child who is trans or is LGBTQ, you don't want to even turn on the news lately because what's being said is so incredibly harmful for people to hear. And yet I feel like maybe advocacy is also needed, from deep in the heart of the resistance, to somehow push back against what's happening in other states, or even other counties when we hear about it. So I don't know if advocacy is part of the program, but it feels like having these ridiculous assertions not challenged is also wrong, because then they just hang out there and fester as rhetoric. So Andrea, I don't know if you're nodding your head, but is there an advocacy portion where people could write letters or support people in other states, be allies, to people in really dire places that are...
I think that's such a wonderful idea. We don't have that organized right now, but I think the very act of coming together and having these conversations is the springboard for advocacy. And I know those of us we've met each other through this event in past years, that things grow out of that. But yes, advocacy is very deeply needed right now. And in addition for legal reasons, but as Tyra was just saying, we need our young people to hear that we adults see them, care about them, and are willing to fight to protect them and keep them safe. And I just want to add on to what Tyra was saying, that sometimes it can feel hard to find a person who feels safe to you to connect to, but those people are out there. And if that's you and you're feeling really alone and isolated, I just want to say don't give up, because there are a lot of us in this community who care about you, who love you, who want to support you. And sometimes it takes a little time to find that one person that you feel safe turning to. But if that person's not at your school, we have the Diversity Center of Santa Cruz County. We have Raíces y Cariño, which is a family center in Watsonville, trilingual family center. There's groups out there, EDI educators, who want to support you. So keep looking, don't give up.
What resources are on campus if you're LGBTQ or any of those categories that you would like to have support or meet people? I know I just started my class right now teaching up there, so there's a lot of new freshmen running around wondering, and I know there's some clubs, but do you want to shout out to any resources on campus?
I do love the Cantu Queer Resource Center. They're always actively at work putting on queer events. Coming up, we have the Queer and Trans Fall Mixer, which is just like the summit, another safe space for any queer people to come and enjoy themselves and meet and find community. So I do have to shout out to the Cantu Queer Center.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, Stuart, in closing, we have about 4 minutes left of the program. Anything you'd like to highlight out of this conversation that maybe needed a little more time?
Yes. I'm really empowered by your questions and what we can send a message to. And I think it's important that when we send messages to queer youth and trans youth, we also send messages to the parents and grandparents who, even though there's all this negativity out there, there's also so many kernels of just beauty. And, we hear people in the news right now who 30, 40 years ago they were football coaches, and they started a GSA when it was really, no one was doing that. And there's all these great stories of bravery. Virginia Uribe started the first GSA. It was called Project 10 back in the 80s at Fairfax High School. And what gets me emotional is you think, wow, during the AIDS crisis and during the 80s, there was one teacher who started a club on campus called Project 10 because they say supposedly that, LGBT people are 1 in 10. And that then grew to, gay straight alliances built around the whole idea. I mean, there's a reason why it's called Gay Straight Alliance. It's because of building community and alliances. It's not just gay. And then it became the Queer Straight Alliance. And then it became SAGA, Sexuality and Gender Alliance. And I'm so inspired to hear about one person doing this and one person doing that. And another event that we produce is the Queer Youth Leadership Awards that's going to be celebrating its 28th year. 28 years, Santa Cruz County has been hosting an event that honors LGBT youth. And we're doing a QYLA legacy project where we're looking up where the youth that were nominated all these years ago, what they're doing now. And so I think when we interview those QYLA nominees, I remember when I first started doing this about 20 years ago that you would only get the queer youth who was being interviewed. And now it's become a family affair where the whole family shows up for their child to be interviewed and filmed. They even, they bring the dog, the pets, they bring the little kids, and good. It's just beautiful. So a message that I would share is a shout out to all the love to the parents and the grandparents, but also the siblings of queer and trans kids. And so that's what this event is all about, is bringing 3 different age groups, elementary school and their families, teens, middle school, high school, and parents and grandparents and educators coming together.
I'd also like to mention that this is Banned Books Week, and the main reason books are banned, the 2 top reasons, are discussion of race and discussion of LGBTQ identities, and those are the main books that have been removed. I'd like to shout out to the American Library Association, who highlights, and what they said was that book banning has surged in 2023, so we can't keep our eye off the ball. We have to keep pushing for freedom of speech and freedom to learn about who you are in your own school. And the other maybe good news is that Governor Newsom has banned cell phones in schools, which should reduce bullying, at least on campus during school hours. At least that's the hope. And so there's some progress in little areas. We have to keep our eyes open to all that's happening. I want to thank my guests so much for being here, Tyra and Andrea. And thank you to Stuart Rosenstein for being here. And good luck on your event this Saturday. When does it start? And once again, it's at Watsonville High. It's the Rainbow Conference. Our very own Sandy Stone is the keynote speaker, which is worth the price of admission. How do people register, and do they just show up?
Yeah, so they can go to the Safe Schools Project website. That's safeschoolsproject.org, and they can click on Summit, and that'll take you to the page. Or people can just do a Google search under Rainbow Conference, and it starts at 9:30 in the morning, and it goes till 2 p.m.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the very best of luck in your event. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you so much for giving us the chance.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a great event.
Thank you.
This is KSQD, Santa Cruz, KSQT, Prunedale. I'm Rachel Ann Goodman. This has been Talk of the Bay. I'll be back again with you next week for another great show. Coming up next, it's first person singular, followed by Dr. Don Motika with Ask Dr. Don. All of that on K-Squid. Thanks for listening.